I am Dr. Derek Molacek, applied faculty at Iowa Western Community College in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and on the online faculty for the North Texas Low Brass Camp. For today's instructional video, I will be discussing the G minor etude on page 4 of the Voxman Book of Selected Studies. This etude was written by Blazhevich, and tempo is indicated as a lento. For this exercise, I will be performing it at the tempo of quarter note equals 88. This etude is being used by both the Texas Music Educators Association and the Nebraska Music Educators Association for the 2020-2021 All-Region and All-State auditions. For students auditioning in the state of Texas, there is no tempo marking indicated, so you are at your own discretion. For Nebraska students, the tempo marking is at quarter note equals 88. Nebraska students, also keep in mind that you are stopping at measure 16, so it's the end of roughly the first half of the piece. Texas students, you are required to play the entire piece for your all-state auditions. One of the first things I'd like to address on this piece is that with the tempo and the style, this to me should be treated as a vocal exercise as much as a trombone exercise. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I stress this a lot when it comes to playing lyrical music. And the reason for that is, out of the brass instruments, the trombone is the one that has the most obvious capabilities of sounding like a vocalist and therefore can sound like a singer. So we would want to approach this by asking ourselves, can we sing this etude? how would we approach this with phrasing and articulation when we sing it? Let's take a look at the first line, for example. Da dee da 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 da. And then as is heard on the trombone. That right there tells us that we want to be able to articulate it and phrase it as we would as a singer. Keep in mind of the smoothness and keep in mind of the slurs and tenuto markings. The tenuto markings are those that are also indicated as legato markings. So they're the line over the note. We would play those like this. For the slurred markings, dynamics and with respect to the crescendos and diminuendos are key to really bringing out the expressive elements in this etude. And that is really what we want to demonstrate here. Not just being able to play accurately, but lyrically and melodically as well. This is meant to be dramatic. This is meant to be showy. Notably, if we look at the return to the 2-2, from the 3-2 to the 2-2, on the last bar of the third line. Let's look at those two bars there. We see a massive crescendo with the ritardando written in. That means we want to slow it down and really build to that climatic moment with the forte. And we don't really need to come down off of that until the first bar of the fourth line in the 3-2 as we are approaching that diminuendo on the second beat. That is the end of the phrase and the end of that idea before it goes into the next one. For students in the state of Texas, I want to stress the importance of the poco rallentando leading into the fermata before it returns to the odd tempo. That, for those two bars, is the closest thing you're going to come up to with a cadenza on this piece. So we want to not only stress the articulations with the longs and shorts, we can play around with the tempo to just really make it dramatic. So thinking of it in the vocal terms, da 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 da. So we can even speed up a little bit in there and then go to the dramatic slowdown. Also, don't be afraid to use your trigger if you have one, and the alternate positions that come with the trigger. This includes the B flat in third position. Why would we want to use that specifically on the cadenza? Because it would make for a more smooth transition, one that we wouldn't have to worry about the natural slur that occurs there, or the natural slide, and helps to build to the climatic fermata there at the end of that. Plus, since trigger 3 is right in between second position and fourth position, it really makes that transition a lot easier and looks a lot smoother from the visual aspect. Vibrato is also something that we want to emphasize on this etude. For this etude, I recommend using a triplet vibrato, specifically on the longer notes of the passage. Triplet vibrato, making it sound more like this. This is a standard triplet. And this is what would be triplet vibrato with using the lip vibrato. You can hear it because it's subtle. And when we use vibrato, we want to make sure we have, if this straight line is the pitch, we want to have our little overtone, our tones, perfectly oriented with the little ellipse pattern. Lastly is breathing. Mark your breaths and do your best to coordinate them with the phrases. And that includes not taking a breath between the slurred passages. But there are a few exceptions to that. On the second to the last bar of the second to the last line, the and of 4 is marked with a breath mark there. That is a good place to breathe because it gets us into the next phrase. It helps us to build into that crescendo as well, so that once we hit that G, we've hit the climax of that particular phrase, and then we can start to peter off a little bit as we go into the diminuendo. Also, make sure to get a big enough breath before the and of 4 on the last bar. This way we can hold out that fermata as long as possible. This would also help to emphasize the ritardando that leads into that last bar and allow you to hand off the G to the room. I wish you the best of luck on your audition and have a wonderful day.